do me so. Hallelujah. Oh, shit. See you do me so. Let me get up, though. He probably left it at the warehouse. I saw it on the floor. That red one there. Top of the day, beautiful people. Happy Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. Hold on. Let me pull this link just in case this thing start acting crazy. Hold on. It start acting crazy. Hold on. It start acting crazy. Okay. Auntie. Hey, girl. Hey. Spinning. Okay, y'all. Just in case we start spinning over here on YouTube, head on over to the Facebook Live link. All right, y'all. Happy Friday. It is May the 20th, 2022, day 113 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1131. Today we're going to pick up where we left off at in the Oahspe on page 106, and then in the meditation book on page 137. Yes. Oh, Inkosi Yezulu. Here you go. Huh? Download the whole album. The group is called We Will Worship, the whole album. Okay.
Yo, man, she be in here rocking on worship, though, bro. Man,
Will Shalom.
About worship, man.
We love worship.
I love worship, man. Real though.
Okay. Yeah. All right, y'all. Father, thank you for another day to be able to worship and have all our faculties working and in their proper places, mind you. Right? So thank you for that. All right, y'all. So let's get started. We paused at chapter 11 on page 106. Okay. Who it is? Y'all seen that version of the episode? Of both of y'all got on the shirts. Look, stay up.
Oh yeah.
Come on. No, that's the neighbors.
Somebody eat some steak and eggs early as I don't know what.
Oh, I can't come that close.
Oh. Lord have mercy.
I'm built better than him. So,
yes, don't you ever walk over here in the view of the camera.
43.
All right, y'all. Chapter 11. Seventy marshalists for the host of Apollo with 10,000 marshals and 50,000 respondents of ceremonies made ready to receive the host of Atavasites, commanded by Semeiad, goddess of Duwegi, in Ethera, goddess of Node and Rock in Gia 38, well known to Apollo, and Fajah, god of Norse, long resident of in Uthera. Sim Sim-Ead was a small woman, dark and of deep love, most jovial of goddesses, and had long looked forward with joy to her pleasure of bringing so large a ship to deliver 2,000 million of Jehovah's brides and bridegrooms into Etherian worlds. And so, when the Adavasit was about to land in Gal, Simad, I think it's I'm just say Simad, Sim-Ead. Sim-Ead looked out from the clusters of central stars, the ornaments of the throne within the ship, to see the hosts who were assembled beneath, and joyously clapped her hands with delight, whereupon she was saluted by Apollo and Phasia, and by God and his lords. Presently, the mighty vessel landed and anchored fast, and the ship of Apollo was moved up aside and made fast to Adavasit. Meantime, Simead came forth out of the ship and was received in the arms of Siventi, Marshalless of Apollo, and then proceeded to the throne of God. Mom, shout it out, shout it out. Oh, great spirit, glory and praise. Oh, great spirit, creator of all life in this physical realm. Hallelujah. Meantime, Simead came forth out of the ship and was received in the arms of Siventi, Marshalless of Apollo, and then proceeded to the throne of God. All the while, the musicians had been playing and singing, and the music of the lower heaven was thus united with the music of the upper heaven. God said, "Welcome, O daughter of Jehovah. Come thou and honor my throne in his name." Simead said, "By the grace and love of Jehovah am I come, O God, and to thee, O Apollo, most wonderful of earthborn gods. How can I express my boundless love? And to thee, O Phasia, long enduring Son of Jehovah, my soul is as a twin for the glory of our everlasting Creator. Behold, I am come into Behold, I am come in Jehovah's name to wed these 2,000 million brides and bridegrooms to Jehovah." Phasia said, "Thy will and Jehovah's be done." And now they shook hands, as is the custom of gods and goddesses. And Simead went and sat on the throne, saluting all the assemblage by making the sign of Jehovah's name with her right hand, which was answered by 3,000 million spirits. And now the musicians played and sang the stars of Jehovah. Meanwhile, the all light began to descend thick and fast on Simead's head, so brilliant that many could not look thereon. And Jehovah spake through Simead, saying, "I blow my breath upon a corporal world, and man springeth forth into life, the highest of my created lights. In the womb of me in the womb of me, I fashioned his spirit. When he is shapely and white, I deliver him. I open the heaven of suns and warm his soul. Brighter than diamonds, he cometh forth. Male and female come they, as stars for my everlasting worlds, dressed as brides and bridegrooms for my chambers of light and love. In my arms shall they be blessed forever, and my mansions rejoice forever." The respondents said, being led by the Etherian host, "I am thy bride or bridegroom, O Jehovah. My soul findeth love in thee only." The respondents said, being led by the Etherian host, "I am thy bride or bridegroom, O Jehovah. My soul findeth love in thee only forever. Thou, my Father, O Jehovah." Hold on. Oh, okay. My eyes just skipped the whole two verses. "Thou, O my Father, O Jehovah, I come to thee to abide forever. From me, my mother, the earth who conceived me, I rise up and go forever. All praise to thee, O Jehovah, and to thee, O God of earth and heaven, and to ye, O lords of the earth, and thy God for my second resurrection. Hast thou made us brothers and sisters, O Jehovah, and giving me a higher world to abide in forever. Trina, hey girl, hey Jen, I see you made it to Texas. Girl, I hope you have fun. Grand Rising. O joy of my soul, to thee I am beholden, O Father, everlasting creator. Jehovah said, behold me, O brides and bridegrooms. I am the all light that is within all and over all. Members of my body are all things under the sun, seen and unseen, boundless forever. I give them to you for your inheritance forever. Shayla, hey girl, hey. Response. Who can give like unto thee, O Jehovah? Not only gavest thou myself, but sent thy gods and lords to teach me how to live, to enjoy thy fullness forever. I will rise to thy immortal kingdoms and learn the mysteries of thy glory and wisdom, O Jehovah. And when I am strong, I will go forth to them who are beneath me and raise them up to rejoice forever. Jehovah said, laborers with me, helpmates and companions forever. With ye I wed from everlasting to everlasting. Response. With thee we wed, helpmates forever. In the glory of thy word, in the glory of thy worlds without end. Jehovah said, mine are all harmony, all symmetry, all love, and will endure forever. Response. When I was in darkness, I fed on hate and anger and war and lust, but thou hast taught me harmony and symmetry and love, and I shall indulge in them forever. Jehovah said, receive ye my mantles and my crowns, O my beloved. The darkness is come and gone, the rain is dried up, and my flowers are blooming for you, my beloved. This is beautiful. So this is another graduation where there is another ascension of bride and bridegrooms, those spirits who were made ready here on the earth. And let's just say they've lifted their uh, their frequency to the next level to where they can go to the next level, right? Okay, so it's graduation time. And this is beautiful. Every time a different class graduates, the let's just say the commencement speech by Jehovah or Yah is different, and it well it pertains to all of them, but it's I like at the beginning of each graduation how he comes and he kind of like speaks to the class of brides and bridegrooms, and then they go back and forth in discourse as one, the class as one, right? That's good. I'm gonna read their response again. When I was in darkness, I fed on hate and anger and war and lust, but thou hast taught me harmony and symmetry and love, and I shall indulge in them forever. Jehovah said, receive ye my mantles and my crowns, O my beloved. The darkness is come and gone, the rain is dried up, and my flowers are blooming for you, my beloved. Response. Glory be to thee, my creator and preserver. All hail to thy wondrous works, O Jehovah. In all my giving I cannot attain to thee forever. Thy crown shall shine in my behavior, world without end. Amen, amen, amen. Jehovah, thou art mine forever. Amen. I am thine, O Jehovah, forever. Amen, amen. Chapter 12. The rites of the resurrection were completed, the whole of which would make a book were the words written down. And as for the music, for which there were 500,000 singers and players, scarce a conception of it can be given to mortals. And when the light of the throne of God broke away a little, God announced 6 hours recreation, whereupon all the angels of Gal and of the Ethereal heavens mingled together joyfully. And after this, for behold, the end of the dawn of Dan had come. Apollo, mightiest of all, rose up and waved his hand in the sign, excuse me, and waved his hand in the sign in Jehovah's name, and stood aside from the throne of God. After Apollo, Simead rose up and gave the same sign, followed by Phasia. And when these three stood aside, high raised on the floor of the throne, so that all the assembled millions could see them, so hushed were all things, like as if time had come to an end. Then filed in front the 10,000 lords and lordesses, They who had once been false gods and false lords, and of the ancient times, arrayed in such gorgeous attire, now robed in plain white and without ornaments. The marshals opened the arches of the Atabasit, but yet not a soul moved from his or her place. Then great Apollo and Simead and Phasia came down and sat at the foot of the throne, more loved than all the gods who had as yet visited the earth and her heavens. Okay, thank you. Shalom. God came down from the throne and took Apollo's hand, saying, Arise, O son of Jehovah, and go thy way. Apollo rose up, himself in tears, and stood aside. When God now took the hand of Simead, saying, Arise, O daughter of Jehovah, and go thy way. Next, he raised up the long tried Phasia, who, lo, both he and God burst into tears and fell into each other's arms. Phasia, of a few words at most, was last to slack the fond embrace, and then he and great Apollo and Simead, light of heaven, broke loose and marched forth to the Etherian ship of fire. God resumed the throne, blinded by his tears. Now fell the mantles of Jehovah and his crowns on the 2,000 million brides and bridegrooms. The awakening light of the Etherian firmament bespoke Jehovah's awful presence. The host moved with one accord and presently entered into the Atabasit amidst a shower of Etherian flowers. The marshals signaled, for the dawn was ended. The bright Simead stretched forth her slender hand and arm to Jehovah, saying, By thy power, O Father, I command, arise, arise, Atabasit, arise. And the mighty vessel, the vessel, and the mighty vessel, and the vessel of Apollo adjoined, arose up from Gal, rocking, rising, and moving to the music of a million trumpeters and singers, joined by the Esenars of the million of the lower heavens. Higher and higher rose the Etherian fire ships, turning and rising, passing beyond the vortex of the earth, beyond Shinvat, out out into the firmament of Ethera, higher and higher till all was lost in a distance. Chapter 13. Jehovah spake in the light of the throne of God, saying to the council of Gal, Heaven of my heaven, hear ye the words of your Creator, O my beloved. Sing songs to Apollo and his lords. Let my people rejoice, for the glory of my Son is upon them. From my kingdom is the light and the life. Out of my wisdom Apollo hath come. Sing to him, O ye lords of heaven. Let my angels rejoice in his name, for he shall abide forever. Created I him for the glory of angels and men. In his idols and images shall my people behold the harmony of my beloved. With my own hands molded I the ankles and feet and well rounded thighs. Behold the arms of my son, no longer than to the thighs, and with dimples and small wrists. His neck is straight and slender, and smooth and round, like the higgin on an altar, and his shoulders like hewn stone, polished and tapering, like a woman's whose goeth not to war. And his instep is high, he can spring like a deer, swift as the wind. He sitteth not on his hunches all day, with his hands down, like a droop that is tired, waiting for food. He fleeth to the plain and the forest on his swift feet. Proclaim ye Apollo in heaven and on earth. He is risen. Higher than the sun is the holy begotten of Jehovah. Out of the virgin me is he come. Holy in the symmetry and music, there is none like Apollo. We'll keep reading. She was my betrothed from the foundations of the world, spouse of your creator, O God. Her name was me, mother of mine, holy begotten son. They were without shapeless, they were they hungrily. The virgin bowed down, for her firstborn was the Redeemer of the world. In stone and in wood and in copper and gold and silver is he stronger than 10 cities and wiser than 10,000 men. He cometh to the young mother's dream, and shapeth her unborn, with limbs like a racer, and with long hair on the head. He standeth in the idol, and knoweth the mother's prayer every day, who calleth on the name Apollo, calleth on the Father, creator of all things. Blessed are the lords of Apollo. Blessed are the sons and daughters of Apollo. Blessed are they that bring forth shapeliness like my son Apollo. This mark have I put up before all women under the sun, the young women before marriage, and before the young men before marriage. Choose ye of them in the likeness of Apollo. Your heirs shall glorify your Creator. Apollo is my judge. He sitteth on my right hand. Swifter than an arrow is his judgment on a woman's firstborn. Chapter 14. Jehovah spake from the light of the throne of God, saying, Hear the words of your Creator, O ye counselors of heaven. They spin and weave and make clothes. They learn in the places of learning. Neither do I condemn them. But my physicians are tired, my nurses are tired, my teachers are tired. Be wise, O my sons and daughters, who hath reformed a beggar by giving to him. What physician preventeth sickness by healing? They bring forth in deformity on the earth, and ye must cure them in heaven. They squat on their hunches on the earth, and they squat in the same way in heaven, and ye must cure them. Go ye to the root of the matter, O my beloved. Send ye down to the kingdoms of my lords, and say to them, Thus saith Jehovah, follow them, O my lords, double the number of Ashars, double the Lewis, excuse me. Leave no young man alone, leave no young woman alone. Keep over them day and night, give them visions and dreams of Apollo, for I am concerted in heaven and on earth to remold the forms of the earthborn. Jehovah said, Hear your Creator, O Gal. Make 7 more plateaus for the second resurrection. Out of the idolatry of my son Apollo, will I beautify the inhabitants of the earth. And the cast and mold of men and women shall become a great power. Jealousies will overspread the earth. Jealousies will rise in the first resurrection. Make 7 more plateaus in the second resurrection, and sort the Esians in the hour of birth. God and the council perceived, and so God appointed workmen and fulfilled the commandments of Jehovah. And he established 700 tributary kingdoms of the second resurrection belonging to Gal. These sub kingdoms were provided with sub gods, second in rank below the lords, of whom there were 10,000 who had direct supervision over mortals, and the lords had every one a sufficiency of guardian angels, Ashars, and Lewis, masters of generations, so that they could direct any required number to such mortals as they chose. The lords mostly established their heavenly kingdoms in the temples where mortals came to worship, and by inspiration, they established spirit chambers near the altars where the prophets sat to learn the decrees of the Lord. Hither the Lewis came to receive their appointments over mortals for the purpose of bringing about marriages acceptable before Jehovah. The affairs of sub gods were, however, holy with matters in heaven, save when commanded by the lords for special work. And it came to pass that mortals and the affairs of mortals were directed and governed by the decree of the lower heavens, and these again by the Etherian heavens, which were of Jehovah direct. So Jehovah changed the forms of the earthbound, but they became worshippers of Apollo, accrediting to one another Jehovah's perfection in them, according to the form and figure of the flesh. And because of the idolatry of the women for Apollo, their children were born of good flesh and shapely, so that in 400 years the hair on their heads grew long and straight, and men began to have beards. neither considered any young man any virtue in a young woman so important as her form, nor did the young women value any virtue in man so great as the well molded form. And when mortals died and their spirits entered the first resurrection, half of the labor of the Asaphs, the receiving angels, was accomplished. So God changed the Esian's period to 3 years, save for the heirs of cousins and uncles and aunts, which was left at least 5 years. We're making good time. We at 26 minutes. Oh, this is the end of the book. Last chapter, chapter 15 of the book of Apollo. So perfect was the way of heaven that at the end of 400 years, God and his lords and his sub gods had ready for the third resurrection. Let me read it over. So perfect was the way of heaven that at the end of 400 years, God and his lords and his sub gods had ready for the third resurrection of grade 88, 8,500,000,000,000 souls for Jehovah's harvest. So Apollo sent Adova, division goddess of Reth, and Coke, and Ethera, down to the lower heaven to deliver God and his host. And they were thus raised up to Ethera in a sea of fire and made one with Jehovah. And like manner was the next government in the lower heaven on earth, and the next deliverance in Dan was 10,000,000,000 souls of grade 65. In like manner was the next administration in the lower heaven and on earth, and the deliverance was 10,000 million of grade 50. All right.
Call me though.
Okay.
Make sure you call me.
All right.
Love
Love you too. In like manner was the next administration on the earth and in the lower heaven, and the deliverance was 10,000 million of grade 38. So Apollo commanded these to be delivered into the Aegean fields of Oath and Sanach and Orant, for they were unsuited for Ethera. In like manner was the next administration in the lower heaven and on earth, and the deliverance was 16,000 million, but they were of grade 24. So Apollo commanded them to be delivered in the nebulous straits of Koppawotchiakka. It's spelled. Listen, I'm gonna spell this for y'all. Oh, the music stopped, huh?
Nah, I felt my head. Why? What's wrong?
Oh, no. I thought you came back because the music stopped and you realized you left your phone.
Nah, just make sure you call me, baby.
Okay,
All right, sure.
You better get something to eat? Because
Nah,
you ain't waiting for me. Oh, okay.
I'll be back. I just gotta get these guys. They gonna come pick this stuff up from the warehouse.
Okay. Okay. Koppawotchiakka. Koppawotchiakk. I wasn't playing. Uncle JB, Grand Rising. Listen. In like manner was the administration in the lower heaven and on the lower earth, and the deliverance was 16,000 million, but they were of the grade 24. So Apollo commanded them to be delivered in the nebulous straits of Koppawotchiakka for further development. That's going to be on our title today. In like manner was the administration in the lower heaven, but not so on the earth. For the kings and queens carried the idolatry too far, and mortals took to destroying ill-formed children and cripples, thus casting the ills of mortality into heaven. So there was no deliverance for the last day of Apollo's cycle, and Jehovah received no harvest. Thus ended the cycle of Apollo, being 2,800 years. What a bad way to go out, man. You right next to Sue, and you end with no harvest at the end. Yep, the top book. So when we come back tomorrow, we're gonna jump back to page 95, and we're gonna read the earthly account, which is the Lord's third book, which we're gonna finish reading all of that tomorrow because that's only 3 chapters as well. and it's really short. We might even be done before the 30-minute mark tomorrow. Ooh, what is that? We'll get to it tomorrow. Ooh, y'all gonna like this. Let me not. King of Vea, Ehu, Monarch, and Good Protector A. Okay. Hold on. Mississippi. Ooh, this caught my eye. Something I was studying between the different land divisions of the Americas and Africa and trying to figure something out. Okay, we'll get to it tomorrow. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna read through this today. Okay, it's talking about South America, Central and South America, Mexico, Texas, Western Mississippi. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna read this right when we done today. Hold on. All right, y'all. Ooh, the Book of Thor. Being the records of Thor, Apollo's successor on earth and in her heavens, from the Ark of Mos to the Ark of Day in the Ethereal heavens, and of 3,200 years. That's what we're going to read Saturday. Monday. Sunday, we won't be here. So we'll start in the Book of Thor on Monday. That's interesting. Okay, y'all. Let's hop on over to the meditation book. On page 137. Okay, so we have this diagram that we paused with yesterday. We read through it. I'm gonna take a picture of it and I'm gonna post it in the community section. I'm gonna post it on Facebook as well. Make a separate post. The Paut Neter, right? It's the company of gods and goddesses. Okay, so you can see this is a full page over here on YouTube. Okay, so it names all of them and shows you the order through the diagram. Okay, but I'm not going to read the names again because we did it before. The diagram above provides insight into the divine images and also the relationship between the varied divinities. For more, see the book Shatu Neter by Mawata Ashby. In the meditation system enjoined in the ancient Egyptian story of Hetheru and Jehudi, the divine forms of the goddess Hetheru and the god Jehudi are to be adored. Okay, so the forms of Hetheru, the goddess of passion, love, and life in ancient Egyptian mythology. So here are her forms. Right here at the top, this first section, when you see her, you will see her in one of those few forms. All right, I'm showing this to Facebook, so hold on, YouTube. Got that? Okay. And I'll take a picture of this too, Hetheru. I'll take a picture of this and post it as well in the community section and on a post on Facebook. Above, I'm going to the middle section. Above left, Hetheru as the cow-headed goddess of creation, and at the right, the goddess form of ancient Egypt as the lioness, exemplifying the power of nature. Right here in the middle. And down at the bottom, the forms of Jehudi. And so Jehudi represents wisdom. So anytime you see in the hieroglyphs this, the baboon, this, or the I forgot what this is called. But anytime you see one of those forms, it's representing the god Jehudi. Okay. The ancient Egyptian god Jehudi appears in the form of a baboon and in the form of an ibis bird. He is the transmitter of divine wisdom. He is known as the mind of God. And in parentheses, it has Ra. Mystical circle. For thousands of years, the symbol of the circle has signified eternity. It is a line which meets itself continuously. The sun disk is the prominent symbol of Ra because just as the sun emanates rays which engender life in the solar system, the Supreme Self, Ra, emanates rays of consciousness which engender life in every human being and every object in creation. The sun disk symbol consists of an outer circle with a dot in the center. The dot represents the self, and the outer circle represents creation, which has emanated from the source. In Indian mythology, it is called the Bindu, right? You see the woman with the look like the dot on their forehead, the Bindu. The same ancient Egyptian symbol may be seen in the yantras, mystical symbols of Indian yoga. Thus, the ancient Egyptian text, Destruction of Humankind, is instructing the practitioner of meditation to sit within this circle, i.e., to be established in the eternal self. And here is the, I'm sure everybody was able to picture that. Okay. So now you know when you see the Indian women with the bindu, what it represents, right? We are really searching after the same thing. We just talk about it a little bit different, depending on the culture where we come from. Matter of fact, let me read that again. The mystical circle. That might be a part of our title today. The Kakajawa Shuba, whatever that the long word was that I read. Oh, it's in here. That's gonna be a part of the title. And the mystical circle. I know I completely screwed that word up. For thousands of years, the symbol of the circle has signified eternity. It is a line which meets itself continuously. The sun disk is the prominent symbol of Ra because just as the sun emanates rays which engender life in the solar system, the Supreme Self, Ra, emanates rays of consciousness which engender life in every human being and every object in creation. The sun disk consists of an outer circle with a dot in the center. The dot represents the self, and the outer circle represents creation, which has emanated from the source. In Indian mythology, it is called the Bindu. The same ancient Egyptian symbol may be seen in the yantras or mystical symbols of Indian yoga. Thus, the ancient Egyptian text, and it's called in parentheses "Destruction of Humankind," is instructing the practitioner of meditation to sit within this circle, i.e., to be established in the eternal self. Abstract meditation. The circle may also be used as an abstract meditation on the self, which is beyond name and form. As you concentrate on the circle, focus on its all encompassing eternal nature instead of associating it with a deity form. This is abstract meditation. And so here's another picture. So doing that meditation, you would the dot, the bindu, or the little dot within the disc, you would imagine yourself as being that, right? And inside the circle, meditating. If you use like abstract meditation to focus your mind, right? Okay. Exercise that is to be practiced only at a certain time or at a certain place. In order for your meditative efforts to be successful, the philosophy of meditation must become an integral part of your life. This means that the meditative way of life, the yoga lifestyle, must become the focus of your life no matter what else is going on in your life. You know, when I read this, I read somebody's comment yesterday. This is one little group that I'm in just to be nosy about some of the spiritual things that be going. They be talking about all kind of spiritual stuff, witchcraft, everything. Everything spiritual. You can talk about it in that group. So when I read this, right, this is talking about how to develop a meditative lifestyle. This girl made a comment day before yesterday, and she said, "You know what? I'm giving up all my," and she was going in a route where she using a lot of stuff like crystals and incense and all this other stuff that she thought she needed to be spiritual. She said, "For the last year, I've been doing all this stuff, and I don't see any kind of progress in my life. I'm putting this stuff up for sale. Anybody who wanted," she said, "I'm done with spirituality." Just by the way she formed her comment, let me know that her her mind really wasn't in the right place, right? I don't think it had really, she wanted to be spiritual, but I don't think it really had sunken in the way it should have. She was just, it's almost like you was doing it. And sometimes we all start off like this, so no slight against her, but I thought about that when I thought about this. It seemed like she was just doing it because she heard about the benefits that could come from being a spiritual person, and so she went for a whole year doing this and expecting it, and nothing happened. So it's just like, all right, nothing works here, I'm going on. I will in a second, hold on. And a lot of times we don't realize, in order to really get real benefit from anything, whether you're trying to become more spiritual or become a car mechanic or whatever, become an expert in your field, you got to give more than a year to it, right? It takes you a year just to get in the habit of fighting with your body to do what's right, right? If you just do it a year, no, it didn't work. Your mind wasn't even in the right place anyways to even begin to get any kind of results, right? Because for real, for those who are truly seeking to really know what's up or to really be spiritual, spending a year, like actually wholeheartedly giving it your all, you wouldn't even recognize yourself in a year's time. And I tell you that from personal experience, right? So everything she was hurt, maybe her mind really wasn't ready for what it was she was seeking, which is why after a whole year, you didn't get anything. I'm of the firm believer. I used to hear an old pastor say this all the time. He said, people can't fake what they are for a whole year, you know. So he would, because our church was full of young couples at that time. It's like early 2000, like 2001, 2003. He was saying people can't, he was giving wisdom to the men and the women there. It was some young married couples and those who were dating. He said people can't fake who they are for a whole year. He said if they're consistent for a whole year, that's probably who they really are. You know, not saying that you won't grow as you go along or whatever, because people change is constant. If there's anything that's constant in this world, it's change. People constantly change, but at the core, um if you're really not ready for something, you can't fake that, you know, because for one, it's going to tire you out and you're going to become tired of it, especially if you're faking it with ulterior motives. So if guys are dating a women, if guys are dating women who their ulterior motive or their ultimate motive is really just to get them in a bed, most guys don't fake that long, right? Because it's like, I'm really here for one thing. Since you're making me hold out way too long, I'm on to the next one. I ain't ready for that. You want something more than what I want to give right now, right? So I found that to be true. People can't fake something for a whole year. But if you do something for a year and you don't get results, that's also an indication that you might not really be ready, or you are not really seeking with your whole heart what it is you say you're seeking for. And that when I read her comment and she was so serious about it, I was like, that just blew my mind, because I'm like, and me and my sister together, I'm like, based on our experience, like when we woke up, it was like in weeks we were seeing change, and you know, running into our biases that we had built up on the inside of us from being indoctrinated from the church. I'm like, there's no way you would still be the same in a year's time if you're like truly searching. But you know, that was a little rabbit trail, but I thought about her comment. People was just kind of going in. Somebody told us, said, sis, put all your stuff in the closet. You'll revisit this in a little while. She said, what you've learned over this last year, it just takes some time for it to sink in. She said, but you'll be back. Nobody ever gives up on spirituality. Right? Okay. She said, especially if you've done a whole year. So I'm thinking just some things just hadn't really set in with her. She wasn't ready for it yet. So yeah, I'll start over because we was only at the third sentence. Meditation is not just an exercise that is to be practiced only at a certain time or at a certain place. In order for your meditative efforts to be successful, the philosophy of meditation must become an integral part of your life. This means that the meditative way of life, the yoga lifestyle, must become the focus of your life no matter what else is going on in your life. Most people who do not practice yoga cannot control the clamoring thoughts of the mind, and because of this, do not experience inner peace or clarity of purpose in life. Others, beset by intensely negative thoughts, succumb to these and commit acts against their conscience and suffer the consequences of a self defeating way of life, wherein painful situations and disappointments in life are increased while happiness and contentment are decreased. The mind is weakened due to the mental energy being wasted in useless endeavors which only serve to further entangle one in complex relationships and commitments. Another source of weakening one's will to act correctly to promote situations of advancement and happiness is caused by the susceptibility to negative emotions. Negative emotions such as anger, hatred, greed, gloom, sorrow, and depression, as well as excessive positive emotions such as elation, serve to create mental agitation and desire, which in turn cloud the intellectual capacity to make correct decisions in life. When life seems unbearable due to the intensification of negative emotions and the obscuring of one's intellectual capacity, some people commit suicide in an attempt to escape or end the painful onslaught of uncontrollable thoughts. Still, others prefer to ignore the messages from the deeper self, which are beckoning them to move toward introspection. Situations of stress in life are motivators whose purpose is to turn you away from the outer world because you have lost your balance. Let me read that again. Still, others prefer to ignore the messages from the deeper self, which are beckoning them to move towards introspection, meaning pause, red flag, the engine light is coming on. You need to check this out. Pump your brakes, pull within for a little bit, see what's going on within you, right? Still, others prefer to ignore the messages from the deeper self, which are beckoning them to move towards introspection. Situations of stress in life are motivators whose purpose is to turn you away from the outer world because you have lost your balance. There's a place for material wealth and sensual experience, outer experiences of the senses. However, when the inner reality is ignored, excuse me, or when inner needs and inner development is impaired due to excess concentration on worldly goals and desires, then experiences of frustration and disappointment occur. If these situations are understood as messages from nature to pull back and find inner balance, then personality integration and harmony can be discovered. However, if these times are faced with lack of inner strength, then they lead to suffering. Sometimes there are moments of clarity wherein the higher self is perceived in an intuitive flash, but people usually tend to discount the occurrence as coincidence or other curious event, while others in bewilderment or the afterlife. Remember, if the connection is getting shaky, y'all, just click on the link that I posted up above and just hop over to the Facebook link. I just saw the thing flash and it said connection is unstable. But we're about done. We got 10 minutes left. Okay. Sometimes there are moments of clarity wherein the higher self is perceived in an intuitive flash, but people usually tend to discount the occurrence as a coincidence or other curious event, while others in bewilderment believe they are going mad. Others prefer to ignore the issue of spirituality altogether and simply shun any thoughts about death or the afterlife. This is a reverse yogic movement that stunts spiritual evolution. Its root cause is fear of the unknown and fear of letting go. We talked about that a lot yesterday. The practice of yogic meditation techniques can serve to counteract any and all negative developments in the mind if the correct techniques are used and the correct understanding is adopted. There are four main components of meditation. These are posture, breath life, force control, sound, and visualization. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Posture, breath life, force control, sound, and visualization. Those are the four. In the beginning stages of practice, these components may be somewhat difficult to perform with consistency and coordination, but with continued effort, they become a pleasurable experience which will bring you closer to your awareness of yourself. It is difficult to control the mind in the beginning. Many aspirants lose heart because they have not obtained the results they anticipated. Just like the girl I just told you about, she said, I'm done with spirituality. I'm selling all my stuff. Many aspirants lose heart because they have not obtained the results they had anticipated. They either quit prematurely or jump to different techniques without giving sufficient time for the exercises to work. They do not understand that although on occasion profound changes will occur in a short time, for the most part, it's a gradual process. A meditative lifestyle, and you can see I jumped ahead in this while I was learning about meditation. I already got certain places marked up with my orange highlighter. A meditative lifestyle should be developed along with one's formal meditation practices. This means acting in such a way that there is greater and greater detachment from objects and situations and greater independence and peace within. This can occur, excuse me, this can only occur when there is a keen understanding of one's deeper self and the nature of the world of human experience, along with formal meditation practices and other activities which promote physical health. And in parentheses, it has diet and exercise. Ordinarily, people do things in order to gain some objective or to derive some pleasure or reward. From the yogic or Buddhist perspective, they are doers of action. They act out of the unconsciousness and subconscious desires arising in the mind at any given time and are thus beset with a perpetual state of unrest and agitation. The meditative way of life means that your actions are always affirmations of your higher knowledge and awareness and not based on the unconscious desires and emotions of the mind. The perfection in this discipline only comes with practice. The perfection in this discipline only comes with practice. I remember when I had first joined the military, I was fresh out of boot camp. I joined from Illinois, right? And so after boot camp, after graduation and everything, they were sending me to my first duty station. And by this time, me and James had already had our first child, Elijah, but we weren't married yet. So on the flight, sending me back home, right back to VA, they stationed me in Naval Station Norfolk because you get like three choices of the three places you could go, and I'm just like, oh, I get a chance to go back home, get me out of Coldtail, Illinois, send me back to VA where the beaches are abundant, right? I was like, my first choice is Virginia. My second choice is Virginia. My third choice is Virginia. No, they wouldn't let me do all three for Virginia. They said you got to pick three different places. I said, what places can I go that are closest to Virginia? So I put Virginia and the two closest to Virginia, right? So, but anyway, they said, you got your top pick. You going back to Virginia. I said, yes. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But on the flight, when it said this right here, the perfection in this discipline only comes with practice, right? The perfection in this discipline only comes with practice. I'm reminded of this older gentleman that actually sat beside me and Elijah while we were taking the flight back here, right? Right after A school, I'm flying back, me and Elijah, and they paid for Elijah to fly back to fly to Virginia with me, right? Or fly here. It was an older black gentleman. He had glasses, and it was like a three seat row. I put Elijah by the window. I sat right here in the middle because I didn't know if dude was a perv or what. You know, I didn't want my child sitting that close. But anyway, I sat beside him just in case I need to do some elbows or something. But anyway, he's pretty nice gentleman, very respectful. Um, but towards the middle of the flight, he began just to make little small talk. I'm like, okay, you know. And he was pretty cool. So he's just talking about, oh, okay, you know, where you going and where you from and all this stuff. But I was kind of cautious with my answer. But anyway, he we kind of got talking about education somehow, you know, and then like the education of my son and all this stuff and how to look out for him as he begins to grow as a man. Because at first I was a single parent at the time. So he was giving me wisdom from a male's perspective to make sure that, you know, if because I didn't give him all my business or whatever, but he just, you know, figured you help out a single young mom with a boy. Here's some good information for your young son as he grows to make sure he develops appropriately as a man. I really appreciated that, you know. But he said something to me. He said, there are 3 books. He said, I'm going to write down 3 books. And believe it or not, y'all, that was 2001. It is 2022. This little piece of paper, this man ripped off from the back of his book, because he was reading a book. One of the pages in the back of his book, he ripped off. You know how you got blank pages for notes or whatever? He ripped one of those pages off. And he said, here are 3 books. Three books that I want you to get. No. It was 2 books, and he wrote a little saying. Would you believe? I still have that same slip of paper. I keep it in my safe. And every so often when I go to my safe, I'm reminded of it and I look at it. The first book, he told me, he said, the first book you should get and ingest and make it a part of your life. He said, it's called Think and Grow Rich. He said there are 2 different versions of Think and Grow Rich. He said it's the original version, Think and Grow Rich. And he said, and there's another one that was written by Dennis Kimbrough entitled Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. He said, get that one. Learn about that. Learn about what they did. Ingest those principles and make it a part of your life. He said, you never want for anything a day in your life, right? And I kid you not, that is my number 1 book. I can tell you in and out all the things from that book. I got both the original Think and Grow Rich and the Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, right? I got both of them in my library. And I've gifted my children with it too, right? So that was that. And the second book, which I've mentioned before, I mentioned the story before earlier, probably last year. The second book, which I still have not been able to find anywhere, he said the second book is entitled, In Order to Get the Fruit, You Must Go Out on a Limb, right? And he put it up there. And I've been looking every so often. I'll think about it and I'll go searching for the book again. Maybe somebody put it on a thrift bookstore or something in Amazon, but I can never find it. He said, these 2 books, take them, make them part of your life. He said, you never want for anything. And he said, your life it'll just increase, not only in value, but also in wisdom as you grow. And he said, and pass those principles along to your son. And said the same thing if you have more children as you grow older. I said, thank you for that. And the last thing he said, and he wrote on the back of it, he said, practice plus repetition equals perfection. He said, if you remember this, he said, there'll be nothing you won't be able to do in this world. Whatever you're learning to do, practice it over and over and over. Always remember this older gentleman. I really appreciate him because I took all that advice he gave to me when I was 19 years old, flying back here, young girl, young single mother with a baby in tow, right? I've kept all that information that he's given me, and I can remember literally word for word what he said. I can remember the guy's face and everything. I just don't remember his name, right? But this whole little sentence right here, The perfection in this discipline only comes with practice. It reminded me of that because it's almost word for word what he says, what he said to me when I was 19. Practice. And he wrote it out: practice plus the plus sign, practice plus repetition equals perfection. Right? And so at that time, I was cordial. I said thank you, but I really took to heart what he said, because the way he explained it, he really explained it to me. He took his time and he was gentle like a father would be to his daughter, and I was really appreciative to that. Appreciative for that. If I could see that gentleman, I don't even know if he's still alive. Maybe he is. He wasn't that much older than me. Maybe he was like in his 50s or something. But you know how people get older, but they look distinguished. He looked distinguished, and he didn't look old, but you could tell he was older, wise, but he was probably 50, but he looked like he was like late 30s, right? But anyway, okay. The perfection in this discipline only comes with practice. When this art is perfected, the practitioner is referred to as a non-doer. This is because even though they may be doing many things in their life, in reality, they have discovered that the true rewards of life do not depend on the outcome of an activity, its fruit or reward. Let me read this last paragraph with this, and then we'll pause. The main difference between a doer and a non doer is that the doer is driven by desires, while the non doer is indifferent to the desires of the mind and the fruits of the action they are performing. The non doer acts out of wakefulness, while the doer acts out of a desire filled mind. Thus, the non doer can never be disappointed or made unhappy because of a situation in life, while the doer is always engaged in a roller coaster ride of elation or depression, happiness or sorrow, pain or pleasure, etc., never finding an abiding peace. Let me go back and start it all over. The main difference between a doer and a non doer is that the doer is driven by desires, while the non doer is indifferent to the desires of the mind and the fruits of the action they are performing. The non doer, okay, so I get it. Okay, so the non doer actually removes themselves from like the outcome of it. So it's like, I'm just doing this to get that. But the non-doer is doing it, and if it comes, it comes. But I've detached myself from the, okay, I get it. Okay. The main difference between a doer and a non-doer is that the doer is driven by desires, while the non-doer is indifferent to the desires of the mind and the fruits of the action they are performing. The non-doer acts out of wakefulness, while the doer acts out of a desired fulfilled mind. Thus, the non doer can never be disappointed or made unhappy because of a situation in life, while the doer is always engaged in a roller coaster ride of elation or depression, happiness or sorrow, pain or pleasure, etc., never finding an abiding peace. The non doer acts out of necessity and is primarily concerned with experiencing the moment fully while carrying out the present task to perfection, not worrying about the rewards for the task. Thus it may be said that for the non-doer there is an immediate reward of peace and joy, whereas the doer is always looking to. Thus it may be said that for the non-doer there is an immediate reward of peace and joy, whereas the doer is always looking to the future or the past. Their non doers' peace and happiness do not come from expectations of the future, nor do they experience sorrow due to some negative situation which occurred in the past. They have discovered a deep experience in the present which transcends both past and future. Yes, babe.
You got a new Apple case?
Yes, I do.
And why you got that for?
Because y'all broke my other one. Thus, they
I know you
experience.
had the iPad.
No, I didn't hide it. They have discovered a deep experience in the present which transcends both past and future. Thus, they experience a unique form of peace and happiness in an eternal present which is not affected by the various ups and downs of life. And that's something I had to practice it a lot. But a lot of time I think I'm really even keeled to where even if things is, oh my gosh, I ain't really flipping out, right? I've learned how to maintain my peace within. Some things are get me going a little bit, but I've learned how to balance myself out real quick. Because if I allow myself to be thrown around with different things that's happening or not happening in my time, I'd be a friggin' nutcase. I know what that feels like. I'm just like, you know what? It'll happen when it happens. I ain't worried about it. I'm gonna keep on moving. It's gonna happen when it happen. Or if it don't happen, I mean, if something don't happen and I didn't do something to directly cause it not to happen, but if things are out of my control, that's a better way to say it. If things happen or don't happen which are out of my immediate control, and my prayers seem not to move them, I don't worry about it. What for? I can't change it. It's going to happen when it happens, or if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. That's the way it's meant to be for this period of time, right? And that's just how I move. But I had to practice that. Okay, but it makes my life a lot better, and I'm at peace a lot more than what most people are. At least what I observe around me, right? I'm able to just shut things out and just ignore things, so to speak. Oh, okay. But thank you for that. You know, Okay. They have discovered a deep experience in the present which transcends both past and future. Thus they experience a unique form of peace and happiness in an eternal present which is not affected by the various ups and downs of life. Adversity and prosperity are an integral part of human existence. The belief that life can or should only be composed of happy or positive situations is a factor of philosophical ignorance and a lack of reflection on history. We almost done, y'all. A wise person realizes that life is full of adverse as well as prosperous situations. While trying to promote the prosperous situations, there must be the expectation of adversity as well. This wisdom leads to the understanding that the world and worldly situations cannot be relied upon as a source of happiness. There will always arise some situation which will bring any form of worldly prosperity to an end. Therefore, a wise person does not become attached to worldly objects, people, or situations, even while being involved with them during the normal course of a lifetime. General society believes that actions are to be performed for the goal of attaining some objective which will yield a reward. The socialization process teaches the individual to perform actions because this is the way to attain something which will cause happiness.
You
Yes.
won't be done
Yes, I'm about to be done.
in this aisle or this aisle.
I'm gonna be done in this aisle. I think I'm gonna be done after these next three sentences, and the rest of this will pick up. Yeah. Okay. No, it's not. Give me a couple minutes. The socialization process teaches the individuals to seek to perform actions because this is the way to attain something which will cause happiness. This is the predicament of the masses of people who have not yet studied yoga or mystical philosophies such as Buddhism, Shatu Neter, or Vedanta. The following line from the Declaration of Independence illustrates this point. Are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yoga philosophy, end quote. Yoga philosophy is not against the pursuit of happiness in the world of time and space. However, it does teach that the pursuit of happiness with a sense of attachment and dependence on objects and situations in the world of human experience will not fulfill the deeper need of the soul. If at all, they should be pursued with an attitude of detachment and dispassion. In reality, happiness does not and cannot come from objects that can be acquired or from activities that are performed. It can only come from within. Even actions that seem to be pleasurable in life cannot be considered as sources of happiness from a philosophical point of view because all activities are relative. This means that while one activity is pleasurable for one person, it is painful for another. This leads to the realization that it is not the activity itself that holds the happiness, but the individual doer who is performing the action and assigning a value to it, which he or she has learned from society to assign. Therefore, if what was learned, therefore, if it was learned that going out to a party is supposed to be fun, then that activity will be pursued as a source of happiness. Here, action is performed in pursuit of the fruit of the action in the form of happiness. A result is derived from the action. However, there are several negative psychological factors which arise that will not allow true happiness to manifest. And I decided to read on just a few more sentences because I didn't want to really break it up right there. The first is that the restless pursuit of the action renders the mind restless and agitated. Second is that if the activity is not possible, there will be depression in the mind. We can definitely see that. I see that clearly, like with the younger crowd. Oh, it's gonna be fun, the best party ever. If you can't come, you will square and all this. And it's almost like social media doing the same thing. If you perceive that this particular thing will bring you happiness, and your parents or whatever is preventing you from getting happiness, it's like a total change in your world. Like, you're preventing me from being happy. No, your perception about happiness is really off a little, right? It might be off a lot. Listen, the second is that if the activity is not possible, there will be depression in the mind. If the activity is thwarted by some outside force, meaning that something or someone prevented you from achieving the object or activity you saw as the source of happiness, you develop anger towards it or them. If by chance you succeed in achieving the object or activity, you become elated, and this will cause greed in the mind. You will want more and more of it. When you're not able to get more at any particular time, you will become depressed and disappointed. Under these conditions, a constant dependence on outside activities and worldly objects develop in the mind, which will not allow for peace and contentment. Even though it is illogical to pursue activities which cause pain in life, people are constantly acting against their own interests as they engage in actions in an effort to gain happiness, while in reality, they are enhancing the probability of encountering pain later on. People often act and shortly regret what they have done. Sometimes people know, even at the time of their actions, that they are wrong. Yet they are unable to stop themselves. This is because when the mind is controlled by desires and expectations, I'm sorry, yeah. This is because when the mind is controlled by desires and expectations, the intellect, the light of reason, is clouded and dull. However, when the mind is controlled by the intellect, then it is not possible to be led astray due to the fantasies and illusions of the mind. When the individual is guided by their intellect, then only right actions can be performed, no matter what negative ideas arise in the mind. Such a person cannot be deluded into negative actions, and when negative actions which lead to future pain and disappointments, are not performed, then unhappiness cannot exist. Thus, a person who lives according to the teachings of non doership, meaning without desire or expectation for the future results of their actions, lives a life of perpetual peace and happiness in the present. All right, y'all, and we'll pause right here. I think I might actually have to go back and read this again, because this is not really where it ends at, but we're right literally at the hour mark. Because I started 15 minutes early and it's like 1:15. Yeah, we'll start this over tomorrow because it's like another page full of this same topic, and then it goes into the diet. So we'll pause it right here. But I just started over with the pursuit of happiness portion tomorrow. Right? Start here. It depends. Well, yeah, because we're gonna get time to read it because the third book of the First Lords is really short. Yeah, okay, so we'll have time to read this and then get into the stuff about the diet. Okay, all right, y'all. So with that being said, thank y'all for hanging out today. Make my notes here.
Mom, you just end it.
Yeah, I'm about to end it now, Sudie. All right, y'all. So it is Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. It is May.
I just got some cereal. Just in case.
Okay. It is May the 20th, 2022,
Mom,
day
I said I need
113 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets under the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1131. We read pages 106 to 109 in the Oahspe, and then pages 137 to 143 in the meditation book. Just in case you don't have it, right? It's Meditation, The Ancient Egyptian Path to Enlightenment by Dr. Oahspe. You can get it on Amazon if you want to get it. All right, so with that being said, that's it. Tomorrow we'll be here again at 7:30 because it's the weekend. I might have some stories for y'all tomorrow. I might. It just depends. Depending on how I can tie some stuff in. I got a whole bunch of stuff I want to share with y'all. I'm just trying to find an appropriate break in what we're reading to kind of try to like tie it in. Okay. All right, y'all. So with that being said, we can go ahead and get out of here. To debate, look, To the baby cut me off in the video yesterday. I said I found out some more stuff about like we call it sex magic, or it's really the sexual energies and how you're to really to use them. Okay, so if you're reading through or listening to the raw contact, as you get towards like the okay, because it's sporadic, you will start reading about it, I think in like session, don't quote me, it's a section where they mention it in like the sessions in the 20s, and then because I'm all the way in the 50s sessions, right? So I'm like session 50, I'm in like session 54. But a couple of them, I want to say it was like, don't quote me, I'm gonna have to go back and pull it out to actually get it. But they explain, wait a minute, too, don't do that. They explain about the sexual energy and what is actually happening, right? And a really good thing. So they asked a question in regards to the sexual energy that that you have or that you pass back and forth when you're in a mated relationship. Okay, so sex and all the things that I've learned about like sex magic or whatever, people who aren't, which in the raw contact they call them mated couples, or we would call them married couples, right? Or committed relationships, they get something different with their sexual intimacy, meaning they can rise to higher levels spiritually. If they're using that energy together, they can rise higher all the way up to the crown chakra with the energy, how it enlightens it. But if you are not a mated couple and you just have like casual sex with multiple partners, they said like you can't even get to the heart chakra while using the sexual energy, because for couples who are having casual sex, the heart is not even involved. So that can't even be developed within them to help make them better. So it's just casual sex. The only thing and it's not even a long lasting effect either, like it is with mated couples or married couples. Because the benefits that you get, they said it was like it's short lived. Don't gonna stop that. It's short lived, and then it they said it like they didn't use the word disintegrate, but it like it just evaporates where there's like no long last long lasting effects of that encounter. But when you're with a mated couple, that energy just continues to rise, and it rises to the heart because the heart is involved, and it takes you to the levels of love of which we're trying to accomplish anyway, and it rises you higher and higher, and it entwines both the energies, the male and the female energy, and it just kind of pushes them up a little bit more. They kind of climb the ladder of spirituality a lot faster than you would if you was like having casual sex, right? So the sexual energy, well, sex and magic is really important if you have the right understanding of it and why it's there. Because once you really understand it and you get that flowing, you can connect that energy to the supreme energy, and it really just pops open like your third eye and crown chakra energy. The way they explain it, I was like, oh, this is freaking amazing, right? And a lot of the stuff what they were saying, I was able to keep up with them and understand it because I'm spending time now looking into this. I've been have like over the last year as I was realizing what happens when you practice certain things together while in the intimate state with your spouse, and what happens even requests or prayers that you may pray at the particular point of climax or whatever. Is literally just like taking your prayer or your request and dropping it right off in the spiritual realm. They started giving more details of this. I'm like, yes, keep going. And then not only that, is it in there, but you know me, y'all. I really should be an owner of stock in Amazon. I'm not telling y'all to go get all these books that I get, but as they began to talk about that, I paused and I went to look to see if there was any more information that came out of this particular raw contact. So I started looking for the instrument that they were speaking through, which was Carla. And after the raw contact book, she actually wrote two books giving her firsthand experience of what was happening to her and to her body while she was allowing her body to be used as an instrument, and the information that she was able to keep as a result of all of this, she put in this book, right? It's called entitled Living the Law of One 101 The Choice. But I was kind of skip reading through this looking for something, but it wasn't that one that I found it in. It was actually this one, a Wanderer's Handbook, right? Which is they actually talk about wanderers in the law of one or the raw contact, which they also label JC in the category of a wanderer, right? And not a wanderer like, oh my gosh, you have like no aim in life.
Mom, you don't end the video.
Yeah, I'm about to end the video. But in this, I ain't even gonna get into that. But anyway, they'll give you good detail of what a wanderer is and how they start off in life and why they choose to come back to help those of us who are waking up, kind of lead us along the way, right? But anyway, in this book right here, the whole point of saying all that was that in this book, there is a whole chapter dedicated, and it's entitled Sexual Energy Transfers. And within chapter 5, right? Chapter 5 is entitled Our Energetic Selves and How We Evolve. And that is in that particular section of chapter 5, along with the energy systems of the body, sexual. Okay, these are the subsections within chapter 5. The first one is the energy system of the body. The second section is sexual energy transfers. The third one is reincarnation. The fourth one is the veil of forgetting and why we forget when we come here. Then you have 5 karma, and then 6 catalyst and experience. So chapter 5 is chock full of information that I have been studying over the last year or so, and it helps bring some light to a few things that I had questions on, had already kind of been fusing together. I was like, okay, so I'm on the right track. Like, I had never met this woman. I didn't even know these books existed till like a week or two, maybe like a week ago, right? Probably about 2 weeks now. But all this stuff on my own personal research and experience with me and my husband, right? It's just some things like we figured out, and it seems to happen like this every single time, or doesn't happen if you do this? What affects that? Like, we really like, when I say the earth is really a lab, we take it as such. The earth is a lab. We're like scientists. We got to figure this stuff out. We're trying to like really get the we're trying to learn the most out of this out of all these lessons we're presented with, right? So I thought that was really good. So if you are looking into that, and I know a few of you are, you might be, that this one right here might be of interest to you. A Wanderer's Handbook, right? I'll put the link for this one and that one just in case you want to get it. We're not going to read it out loud, but I'm just saying there's some really good information in those that helps, if you're researching and stuff. So I'll share it just in case you want to get it. I'm not telling you to get it. I'm not telling you to break your bank buying all these books. That's just me. I'm a living, walking library, right?
Let's end the video.
All right. Let's end the video. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. May Yah continue to bless you in all that you do. May all the wisdom that you learn and gather, you are able to apply it in your life at the right time and in the right situation.
Mom,
All right.
we can do the blessing first.
That kind of like was the blessing, but you want to do like the original blessing that we were doing?
Mhm.
I gotta find it. Hold on. Not find. I know exactly what it is. Hold on. All right. So we'll do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. I gotta type it in.
This is it.
This is it. All right. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise he shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. That's it. See y'all back here tomorrow. Enjoy your Friday. Peace. All right, go ahead and end it. Bye, y'all. Mom! Thanks.
Well, what you did?
Oh, it just froze. It caught me in that position while I was lifting my hand up. It just froze me there.
Oh.
All right. Bye, y'all. See y'all tomorrow.
Mom, I need